I'm really good at one thing: weight loss. For the last 10 years, I have helped hundreds of people lose weight fast, feel incredible in their bodies, and most importantly, actually keep that weight off long term. People now ask me every single day to help them, and my advice has been featured in leading media outlets around the world. But today I'm giving it to you for free right here in this video. And if we haven't met before, I'm Maria and I'm a registered dietitian. So I have all of the formal qualifications, but more importantly, I have refined approaches based on what I have seen works in real life scenarios. And I post new videos every single week, so if weight loss is a goal of yours, I would recommend subscribing. Getting straight into it, number one is that it is very difficult to lose weight if you have an unhealthy relationship with food. And let's be honest, most of us, myself included, have had a little bit of a funny relationship with food at some point or another. And throughout life, there may be periods where you struggle with this a little bit more than others. Like if you've just had a baby, for example, or if you're trying to get in shape for your wedding. But having the self-awareness to realize this and the confidence to openly admit it can really help. Because it's something that if you have the right help and the right support, and maybe that means getting the help of a professional, can really be improved. Now, number two is that you need to keep your protein intake relatively high, in and around 1.5 grams per kg of body weight per day. You can go more than that, but you really want to be getting in at least this amount if you're trying to lose weight. And this is because protein is the most satiating macronutrient per calorie. So basically, eating a lot of protein means you feel quite full compared to the other nutrients. It's very hard to overeat on chicken breasts than it is to overeat on slices of toast, for example. Protein also has a higher thermic effect of food. And what this means is basically when we eat protein, our body has to digest it and it burns a lot more calories digesting it than it does in terms of fat and carbs. So there's a very small benefit here in terms of calories burned. Protein can also help with maintaining muscle mass. And muscle is metabolically active tissue, so it burns more calories than fat. Now, the practical difference in all these little things is not huge, but these small differences add up and can still be worthwhile. I'm always posting high protein, low calorie recipe ideas over my Instagram, so if that's something that you need a little bit of inspiration or help with, I'd recommend going and following me over there. Now next, you want to keep your fiber intake relatively high, and this is greater than 25 grams of fiber per day for most people. Fiber can also help with feeling fuller for longer, and aiming for a high fiber intake has many benefits for your gut health too. And in the pursuit of a higher fiber intake, this likely leads to a diet that is higher in other micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, but also a diet that is less ultra-processed foods. By eating more of the good stuff without even trying, you end up eating less of the not so good stuff. Plus, excuse me being a little bit graphic, but with fiber, you actually end up pooing out a lot of those calories. In practice, dietitians, we like to call this the sweet corn test. Take, for example, if you've ever had a meal with sweet corn in it and a few hours later you see that in the toilet. You can kind of assume that the calories from the sweet corn are not actually the calories that your body ends up using, because some forms of fiber are indigestible. So this is what I'm talking about here. And number four, outside of extremes, your ratios of carbs or your fat intake doesn't really matter that much. When we have studies looking at low carb diets and low fat diets, both looking at these in controlled environments in real life situations, they find that on average, there is minimal difference in fat loss from low carb diets versus low fat diets. This means that it makes sense to just choose the diet that works best for you. Some people will do excellently on low carb diets. Some people will not manage at all. Similarly, some people will do excellent on low fat diets, and for others that's really difficult. But again, don't go to extremes. Cutting out too much fat or cutting out too much carbs isn't going to be good for you. For example, we all need a certain amount of fat daily for our hormonal health. This is around 0.6 to 1 gram of fat per kg of body weight per day. Or if you go by pounds, it's about 0.3 to 0.4 grams of fat per pound. I'll add these to the screen. But ultimately, find the diet that works best for you and not what worked for somebody else, because they have different preferences to you. Now, my next point is that since the carb or the fat breakdown doesn't matter too much, the most important thing to focus on is the overall amount of calories that you consume daily and just making sure that you're getting in enough protein. We know that a calorie deficit, or eating a little bit less than what your body needs, that is required for fat loss. So the name of the game is finding the best way for you, not what anyone else, for you to stay within that deficit. But then that protein intake, making sure you're nailing that, will help with your muscle retention and your satiety. So it makes sense to prioritize that too. So even if you have a preference for low carb or low fat, this knowledge will allow you to adjust based on what each day presents you with. Now, my next point is so obvious, but sometimes you just need to be told it 100 times, even me too, but it's to drink a decent amount of water. Being well hydrated is generally a good idea. You will just generally feel better, but drinking enough water can help with your satiety too, because sometimes we think we're hungry when we are in fact thirsty. And as obvious as it is, the best way to do this is to just have a bottle of water beside you at all times. Do what you need to do to make that easier. Buy yourself a really nice bottle. Add a little bit of flavoring to it. Whatever helps you, but having that bottle with you at all times will make it so much easier to drink that water. Now, my next point is equally as important, but often overlooked, and that is getting good sleep and prioritizing your sleep. There are so many reasons for this, but it really helps with cravings. If you don't get enough sleep, your body will seek out energy in other ways, and one of the most obvious ways for your body to get energy is through food. So you want to be getting your energy from sleep as much as possible. You will also just generally feel better, feel more motivated to stay with your goals, and be in a better headspace, which will make eating healthier and exercising so much easier. Now, my next point is all about meal frequency, because people always ask me, how many times a day should I be eating? Should I not be snacking? Should I only be having 3 meals a day? And what I would say is that meal frequency doesn't necessarily matter for fat loss, but it does make sense to try and find the meal frequency that makes you feel at your best. There is nothing magical about eating 6 small meals a day and that approach is going to speed up your metabolism. That's not true. And intermittent fasting isn't going to work any magical way either. When calories are matched, results always come out similarly, whether that's eating within an 8-hour window or eating throughout the day. So instead, what matters more is focusing on an approach that works best for your lifestyle. You need to think about your work schedule, your other commitments. If you can actually reduce the amount of meals that you have or snacks that you have in a day without feeling miserable, and it's something that you can sustain. It's all about what will work for your lifestyle. For me, for example, there is no way I could fast in the mornings because I need to eat in the morning. I'm hungry, and if I don't eat, I won't be able to get any of my work done because I will just be too hungry. Similarly, my next point is that in most cases, if you front load or backload your calories too much, this could increase the risk of unintentional overeating. So spreading out your meals and your snacks more evenly throughout the day often tends to work better. Because if you let yourself get too hungry, that is when you may overeat. Obvious, but not so obvious. Now, while some people do find intermittent fasting or having certain windows may be beneficial for them, which is great, it doesn't work for everybody. For example, if you try to not eat too much at breakfast and lunch, and then you allow yourself to eat more in the evening, you might just end up eating a lot more. So letting yourself go too hungry can mean that you lose a lot of control. So if you find yourself struggling with unintentional overeating, it might be worth adjusting how you distribute your food throughout the day. And for some people, honestly, just deciding that they're going to have 3 meals and 2 snacks a day. Sometimes people are really reluctant to do that. They think it sounds like a lot of food, but actually it can end up being the thing that helps them lose weight. Now, another huge strategy that I use with all of my weight loss clients is to implement some method of volume eating. This is where you choose high volume foods that are lower in calories and you eat a lot of them. For example, salads to bulk out your meals, lots of vegetables. All of these foods have a lot of volume, but they don't provide a lot of calories. So it can be a really helpful tool for making you feel very full without actually needing to take in too much energy. Now, this can go too far. Some people try to eat loads of low calorie foods and they're filling up on low calorie jellies and they're having ridiculously large salads, and that can just make you feel bloated and uncomfortable. But I do think to help with weight loss, bringing in some aspects of volume eating is a very, very helpful tool. And without doing so, you are really leaving an easy win on the table. Next, I want you to aim for at least 500 grams of fruits and veg daily. This is at least 5 servings, ideally more. This is partly for satiety, so keeping you feel full, partly for fiber, so you're going to be getting in more fiber, but really it's important because you're going to be getting in a lot of the micronutrients by doing this. That is your vitamins and your minerals. And during a deficit, or when you're trying to lose weight, it's very easy for our micronutrient intake to unintentionally drop. And prioritizing eating enough fruit and veg can really help with this. Also, it's a good way of having an abundance mindset when you're trying to lose weight. It's about trying to eat more of these kinds of foods instead of focusing on, I need to eat less of this or I need to cut that out. We want to be trying to just eat more fruits and vegetables. And that will naturally displace a little bit more of the foods that we shouldn't be eating as much of. Next, you want to be rigid enough to get good results, but flexible enough that you don't feel overly restricted. Sometimes you do need to say no to certain things, or get up and go to the gym when you don't feel like it. We do need to push ourselves out of our comfort zones, and that is a skill worth having. But it's also beneficial to be adaptable and flexible, because overly rigid approaches never work long term. And look, life has a funny way of throwing lots of curveballs in your face. Now, all of my clients that see success do this one thing, and that is taking some time to plan out their meals and their snacks. I'll say it again and I'll say it again, but nobody ever accidentally finds themselves eating a salad for lunch. We might accidentally find ourselves eating a bag of chips on the couch in the evening, but nobody accidentally finds themselves eating healthy breakfast and lunch. And if you don't plan in advance, and you struggle with consistency, it is not surprising. Taking some time each week to plan out what you're going to be eating or what you need to buy in the grocery store. All of this preparation significantly improves the odds of success. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, do not focus on short-term scales fluctuations. Scale weights can be influenced by a huge amount of different things, like your water, your glycogen, food weight, if your bowels have opened, and where you are in your menstrual cycle. Quick fluctuations are very rarely representative of actual fat loss. So instead, it makes more sense to focus on trends over time. And it also makes sense to focus on other metrics, not just a number on a weighing scales. Are you feeling better? Do you have more energy? Are your clothes fitting better? Is your waist getting smaller? All of these things are important too. I do recommend monitoring your weight, and this can be daily or weekly. It's finding what works best for you. But just remember, little fluctuations day to day are not actually going to give you a true picture of fat loss. So don't let them dishearten you. Now, I've already said that we do need to be in a little bit of a calorie or in an energy deficit to lose weight. But you need to aim for a deficit that allows you to get lean at an efficient rate without resulting in you being too hungry or too miserable. If you start trying to really cut down on how much you're eating and then try to increase in how much you're moving, and you go too far, this will completely backfire. You need to find a balance where there is a little bit of a sweet spot, that it's not that difficult. And I firmly believe you can eat less without feeling crazy hungry and without feeling deprived, because healthy food can taste incredible when you learn to do so. I actually have a recipe ebook. I have a free one linked below, but I am working on another one that I will hopefully have out soon that covers a lot of really incredible recipes that you will never ever even feel like you're on a diet. So keep an eye out for that one. But what typically happens is that most people aim for lower calories than they need to get the results that they want. And a lot of people that are struggling with consistency, they are trying to go too hard too quickly. They're trying to really drastically cut, we'll say, down to 1,500 calories. And I'm just picking that number as an example. But they try to stick to 1,500 calories, and maybe they can do this for 1 week. Maybe they can do it for 2 weeks. But then they end up giving up or overeating, and it just doesn't work. Whereas they would have actually been better off setting a more realistic target of something like 1,700 calories and doing that for 6 to 8 weeks. But often we're just so motivated at the start that we try to go in too hard, but we can't keep that up long enough to actually get the results that we need. And this isn't even crazy long. You just need to have a little bit of patience to go and get a more realistic target and stretch that to 2 to 3 months. And then you're actually going to get results. Now, this is a big point I really hammer home with all of my clients, is that you need to be prioritizing from the very, very, very beginning of any weight loss journey, building or even simply maintaining your muscle mass. And the way to do this is resistance or strength training. And this doesn't need to look like you going to the gym and lifting crazy heavy weights or anything like that. Resistance training can be body weight push-ups for some people, but it's about putting your muscles under that little bit of tension. And way too many people come to me and they say, Maria, I'm going to join the gym after I've lost 5 pounds. But that is not the right approach. You need to be doing this straight away, because protein is like the building blocks for muscles. But without actual training is the trigger to start the whole process. So you need to be doing that resistance training from the get-go. And why I'm so big on this is not just because of the weight loss impact, but because people who successfully maintain their weight long term, what do they all have in common? They exercise. And prioritizing muscle growth also helps disconnect from this goal of simply just trying to lose weight. And having muscle is so important for many aspects of health. It's not just about looking more toned. It's thinking about, as you get older, that you have strong muscles, so you're less likely to fall. As you are an older adult, you are more independent. You can carry your own shopping, get up and down off of your own chair. And we don't often realize this, but your heart, your lungs, all of these things are muscles too. And we need to look after them, because we don't just want to lose weight. We want to be healthy and fit. And we want to have longevity to live the best, most fulfilling life for as long as possible. So you need to prioritize looking after your muscle mass, and that is done via strength training. It's not done from running marathons. It's not done from doing spin sessions. You can do these things if you like to do them, but if you don't exercise at all right now and you're looking to start, I would start with resistance training. And this brings me on to my next tip. A lot of us think about cardio when it comes to weight loss, like running, cycling, the HIIT sessions, all of these things. And cardio is good for your heart health. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. And if it's something that you like, you should continue to do it. But if you find it hard in general to exercise, what you should focus on, which is a lot more realistic, it's kind of easier to get started with, is just focusing on your steps. How many steps you do every day. If right now you only do 3,000 steps, try to bring it up to 4,000, 5,000. Once you get there, maybe bring it up a little bit further. But steps are really important when it comes to weight loss and maintaining a healthy weight, because it's all of these little daily activities that we do that are more important than if you were to do a 45-minute HIIT session, but then you sat on the couch for the end of the day. So when it comes to exercise, you want to be doing your resistance training 2 to 3 times a week ideally, and after that, just looking at how much you move day to day, so your steps. Now, another strategy that I might use with some of my weight loss clients is, if they are really enjoying their strength training, is to prioritize getting your carbohydrate foods around your strength training sessions. If you try to go to the gym in the morning fasted, you're going to feel underfueled, you're going to feel miserable, you're not going to enjoy the workout. So where you can, try to have some carbohydrates before an exercise session. That way you will probably enjoy it more, plus you'll have more energy, so you'll get more out of the session. Now, another big tip that really works wonders for my clients, in particular around their mindset, is to think about your calories or your food intake over the course of a week rather than the course of a day. I often have people saying, oh, I had a really bad day, so tomorrow I'm going to try harder. But think about it over the course of a week instead. And over this week, you're going to have some very good days, maybe the odd bad day, but it will eventually then just even out. When you solely focus on just the day-to-day, it's so much easier to just write off the day then and just think, okay, I'm just going to keep going and I'll just keep eating and I'll have a little bit more of this and the day is ruined anyway. But if you think of it as a weekly budget, everything that you do today on top of your planned intake still contributes to the overall week. Now, one of the best skills to develop on your weight loss journey is that when you go slightly off plan, you don't just say screw it and go completely off plan. You take the next opportunity to get right back on it, because going slightly off plan is not a big deal. If you have a slice of cake at a birthday party, or if you eat a little bit more than you plan to, that's fine. Small deviations will still likely leave room for you to make progress. But it's when you keep building on them and just saying screw it, that's when things go out of hand. This sounds quite simple, but it is a really hard thing for people to finally grasp. And it can be the difference from all of your weight loss attempts in the past not working to this one finally working. We all make mistakes, but it's how you react to those mistakes that makes the difference. Now, lastly is the 80-20 approach. It really is solid and many of us have heard of it before, but we want to aim for being good, not perfect. Many of us are so focused on having the perfect diet, eating the exact amount of calories every day or hitting our exact amount of protein every day, that when you end up falling short or going slightly over, you feel like a failure, but you're not. And very fortunately, nutrition is one of those things where there really are diminishing returns the closer that you get to perfection. Being 80 to 90% consistent delivers nearly the same results as being 100% perfect, but with way less stress. And being in that 80 to 90% range consistently, this will get you far better results than bouncing between 100% perfection and under 50% when you fall off the wagon. And there we have it, some of my very best tried and tested fat loss tips. Now, if you have any fat loss tip that I did not cover today that you think would really help somebody, please comment below. I would really love to hear it, and I'm sure there's many other people that would benefit from it too. We all want to help each other. And as a thank you for watching, I have a free recipe ebook which I will leave linked in the description box below. And as always, if there's any other video that you would like me to make or something you need a little bit more help with, just comment below and I will make sure to add that to a future video. As always, thank you very much for watching. Stay happy and stay healthy, and I will see you again next week. Thanks for watching.